Live. Yeah, we're good.
We were. Now I have to take another breath and start again.
Once more for posterity.
It's episode 317 on Canadian Patriot Podcast. This is John McDonald with Music and Truth Until Dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in the occupied zone. The chair is against the wall. John has a long mustache. It's 9 o'clock Canadian, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the line, this is your song. And in post, I'll put in the song again this week because I still can't figure out why I can't hear the drops, but everyone else can.
You're bad at computers.
You should get a guy that does software stuff to get for a living, to give you a hand.
He's supposed to be that guy where he works.
I know.
There you go. We'd love to hear your feedback about the show. Please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Feel free to tell us how terrible Andrew is at including songs into the show and doing drops and everything else, or send us your favorite surfing destinations.
We need your help to support the Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
That brings us to my favorite segment. It's how we achieve plausible deniability. We admit to drinking before talking about the government. We'll go clockwise on the screen. We'll do what are we drinking? We'll start with Dave. Dave, what are you drinking?
I am drinking some Sapporo tonight. Just leftovers from this weekend's celebrations.
Gavin, what are you drinking?
I am once again drinking Signal Hill and Diet Pepsi.
This is becoming a thing.
Yep, and seeing if it catches on.
Pierre, what are you drinking?
I'm drinking 40 Creek and Pepsi tonight.
From the skulls of your enemies, by the looks of it. Is that a Spider-Man cup?
Fuck yeah.
That's badass.
A present from years ago.
I'm sure Lincoln would love it.
The only shitty part, I'm like, the cup's not heavy, but then you fill it up with a bunch of booze, and I'm like, man, I would not want to be walking around with this cup. And it'd be a good fall. Yeah. But yeah, it's a Spider-Man cup.
You might have a hard time finding home.
Yeah.
Where you've also got a reminder for everybody to be doing the Patriot Challenge. 5 things every day, not just one day, unlike some podcasts might believe. 5 things every day to be a better Canadian, even a better person, just generally. You don't have to be Canadian. Exercise for 45 minutes, practice a skill for 10 minutes, read a book for 15 minutes, drink your 2 liters of water, at least, and complete one task that will improve your life. And it looks like Instagram and Facebook are down today, but when those come back up, once the internet gets sorted out, whether that was a cyber attack or something else, if you're still using social media, you can grab the template from the website and post it and show your friends or your enemies, whichever. Section 7.
So we're good.
Section 74 challenges are still an ongoing thing. A bunch of them got postponed, so they're still looking to fund their lawyers. So go to GoFundMe, kick in a couple bucks. Lawyers are not cheap. Gun rights are expensive. I feel like everybody knows the drill at this point.
Even when you're not wrong.
Well, no, but I mean, punishment through process is kind of a thing, though.
Yeah.
Right? So you have to be able to afford it or get a lot of people to kick in a couple of bucks so that you can afford it. Yeah. Operational pistol. We're going to do some other news stuff, but Dave and I are coming off of a big win, and I want to celebrate that a little bit. Dave and I were on the winning team at the Operational Pistol Championship this past weekend, and we retained the sword, and I did well enough to actually contribute to the team score this year, which is an improvement for me. Last year, I did not get a medal.
Well, you improved to the much superior German X5, correct? So
Yes, I
that helps.
have forsaken the Austrian sissy pistol, and I've gotten myself the superior Sig Sauer pistol
we welcome you.
because
Yeah,
one of
I
my
mean-
teammates, not Dave, bullied me into buying a better gun. So I now have a Sig X5 Legion for
I may have supported this
reasons.
bullying.
Yeah, that's fine. The P320 is a great firearm, and the Sig, the X5 Legion series is a good gun. Like,
It's good bang for buck,
it's a good deal.
pun intended.
So operational pistol is a not particularly well-known shooting sport, I think.
It's again with the service condition stuff we do, like with precision rifle like I run, and then also service rifle. It's more stuff to do with the Ontario Rifle Association and the DCRA.
I don't know if any provinces have like a service pistol program. The ORA will whenever they give me range time, because I'm adding it to the CQB program,
Mhm.
which we're now calling CQC for political reasons.
Yes,
It's
correct.
close quarters competition.
Yeah, yes.
Yes.
That's what that stands for. No, they made me update the name a little bit for insurance purposes, I think, because the new insurance
Imitations.
policy, they were like, "You're doing what exactly?"
Well, we've got these wax bullets. It's okay. They did this in the Olympics forever ago.
We're bringing it back. No,
We
so-
practice throwing commies to the ground. That's what we do. Close quarters combat. Anyways, but
when we get the ORA CQC program, formerly the CQB program, going again, I will introduce operational pistol to a provincial rifle association, which, as far as I know, will be the only provincial rifle association that has service pistol. The only place that I know that it's really shot is the Dominion of Canada Rifle Association at the Connaught Range near Ottawa.
and of course the Milken Training Center where we were this weekend.
Well, they do their slightly different thing. They do operational pistol, which is the same but different,
Same but different, as they say.
so to speak.
It's the same thing.
Little different. Don't have to deal with Browning high powers. Don't have working safeties or other functional components. So there are some differences between national service conditions championship type service pistol with the DCRA versus the Operational Shooting Association's operational pistol at Milcon.
Yeah.
They are, same but different.
I'd say the biggest difference, honestly, is the operational service pistol that we did over this weekend is from the holster, whereas the DCRA stuff is just from a high compressed ready, which is completely different.
Yeah.
I much prefer that it includes the draw with
Absolutely.
the operational pistol. I think that's
Absolutely.
But
It's such a small move, I guess, short movement, but it's very complicated and very crucial to being part of a good pistol shooter. I think it has to be.
I think so. Establishing a good grip and all of that stuff. And Marty's not here to defend himself, but he was beating up on operational pistol a little bit earlier because it's such a, I think, low barrier to entry.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. There are no divisions. There are no classes. There is no. It'll literally bring a safe, reliable firearm with very minimal criteria around what that means. There are some safety and some operational criteria, but it is basically if it's a duty type pistol or if it's suitable for operations. If it's safe, it's good to go.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter if it's got iron sights or optical sights. As long as the optic is attached to the slide, it's good to go.
We can have our fancy
Compensators are kind of allowed as long as the compensator doesn't change the profile or appearance of the firearm. So like comped barrels are a thing, but again, hardly anybody uses those.
So no race guns.
Yeah.
I mean, race guns are discouraged because race gun is a specific.
Keith was pretty adamant. No race guns, or you can literally get the fuck off my range. I think were his words exactly.
I feel like you could show up with a pretty tricked out 2011 and still be good to go.
Yeah, but like none of those, like, what's the one? That STI thing with like the giant comp and then like the charging handle and then like
definitely not. you'd definitely be told to shoot elsewhere.
Asked not very politely to leave.
Yeah.
Whatever, I'm used to it.
Well, and that's another one of those nice things. Is like this is
It's just
Keith-
the whole field of people that are shooting it. Like we cover the gamut from high level competitive shooters and law enforcement, and then all the way down to the other end where you got new shooters that are having a great time and shooting it. Not necessarily up in the mix of medal contention, but still having a blast and having fun and doing their personal bests. It's a pretty open sport.
it is pretty open, and I think the same is true at DCRA, and SCC. I think the same is true. I mean, obviously that's geared more towards the military and getting ready for CAFSAC. But I think it's the same thing. There is a pretty wide variety of competitors. Obviously, this is geared towards military and law enforcement because of the style and type of shooting. And I guess if you're not up on your Canadian firearms history, Keith Cunningham and Linda Miller, kind of a big deal.
Pretty much everybody knows who they are if you do long distance shooting of any kind.
Yeah, the Wind Book for Rifle Shooters and Secrets of Mental Marksmanship are great books to add to your collection.
Mm-hmm.
I have signed copies. I will keep those. Yeah.
One of them actually says, "Get the fuck off my range."
It's a special order.
Yeah, I didn't even have to ask for that one.
Yeah, no, I just had to sweep the whole line or something.
Yeah.
No, I once had an ammunition problem on one of Keith's ranges, and he politely and firmly suggested that I not do that again.
Was it practice ammo? Talking
about was practice. Yeah, I had a box of practice ammo, and I had
practice ammo every time, man. I've never seen anybody so nonchalant about squibs, like nonchalant.
Bro, like it's coming.
He's got a brass rod. It's fine.
Yeah, he's
got
like three,
sooner or later it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I've dealt with one in all my time.
Oh, you want to? I got a 30 cal can full of 9mm. If you want, I can guarantee that there's a.
And I politely declined.
There's a whole bunch in there. The problem is I don't know which ones.
I think we got to do that for a match.
It's like Russian roulette, and it's like, okay, spot the squib. Don't.
Everyone has to have one mag of Andrew's practice ammo.
Everybody has to sign waivers, obviously.
All right. So in the spirit of full disclosure, I once had 8 pounds of pistol powder that I think was in some way defective or damaged. I don't know how or why, because I store all my powder inside. It's in a cool, dry place. It's in sealed containers. I don't know. I bought HS6, HS8, whatever kind of powder it was, following the Sandy Hook shooting when we lost all of the gunpowder in Canada a couple of years ago, because everything just sold out and the Americans went on a buying spree, and that was all I could get. Also, it takes a really long time to go through 8 pounds of pistol powder. Unfortunately, by the time I got to the end of it, it had gotten very, very bad, and a lot of rounds did not go as bang as they were meant to have.
Mm-hmm.
But it's fine at the range when I know I'm doing it.
The rod is at the ready, as it were.
Like when it's just me shooting the plate rack by myself, the plate either goes down or it doesn't. And it's obvious to me that oh yeah, this one, get the brass rod. This one might be stuck.
That's fine.
But yes, I was discouraged from bringing practice ammo to Milcon in future. Strongly, aggressively discouraged.
So what did we win this weekend? We had anybody who's seen our pictures that on Facebook has now
sword.
Seen
we got a sword
and some gold gongs, right?
Yeah, buddy. So the way that it works, it's a 2-day event. Day 1 is 10. We call them matches in the spirit of military style shooting. The same way that when we go to a service rifle competition, there are a number of matches, or when we shoot the long range precision rifle with what Dave runs, we shoot a number of matches because this is in the DCRA style of shooting.
Instead of what you would be used to as stages, I guess you could call them.
Yeah, IPSC would call it a stage more likely, but a match is always the same. So it's at 10 meters, fire a set number of rounds at a set number of targets in a specific sequence to simulate a common tactical task. Like, for example, tactical reload is literally just like a one reload, one drill, but 20 times.
Or keep shooting. It's just two mags of 6.
Yeah.
With
Just an emergency mag change on the clock.
Yeah.
So the first 10 stages on day 1, the first 10 matches are aggregated to a team score. The best 4 people on your team make up your team score. And the team that scores the highest, the Guelph Team, which is the team that Dave and I shoot on, not because it's sponsored or in any way helped by Guelph, but because many of the shooters come from Guelph.
It's where we practice.
It's where we practice. We won the sword last year, although with the same team, but 4 different scoring members. Then we won this year where we retained the sword, which I am very happy about because I like to win things.
Not 4 different. I was on it last year as well.
But the scoring members of the team, it was the same team members, but the scoring members changed this year.
Yes, slightly.
So we shot as a team of 6, but it's the best 4 people for your aggregate score.
And the best person on our team was
me. I significantly improved my standings this year from being on the team last year to having been top shooter on the team this year, which
ridiculously tight.
It was, yeah. We had some tough shooting. There was some very good people there. For the first day, I ended up in second place, down by 4 points out of 945 points total. The top shooter was down by 3. Top shooter was 942. I shot 938. So yeah, tight competition. And our whole team, I shot a 938. Dave shot a 935. The next person on our team, 934. And then 925. We had 2 people shoot 925, and we had 1 person just a little bit under 900 out of a possible 945. So we did pretty well on day 1.
There was not a lot of missing going on. Like,
no,
I didn't miss a single shot my first 5 matches. They're all high possibles. So we were on fire. We came out of the gates hot, and we stayed hot all day. It was a thorough ass whooping. It was good.
It was good. I don't think I've ever seen so many shoot-offs at one of these events.
Yeah.
We had, over the course of the weekend, we had 6 ties for first on a stage. And we do 2 things to break ties. The number of VBLs, so the very center of the 5 scoring zone, is scored as an extra decimal place. So normally we use the number of VBLs in order to determine tiebreakers. Whoever gets 100 points with 20 VBLs is a highest possible perfect score. So if you fired 20 rounds, you could accrue 100 points. With 20 VBLs would be the highest number of highest points. Whoever gets that would win. But if you had 2 people that both shot 100.20, you have to go head to head. And they repeat the stage for just those people that tied. And whoever wins the tiebreaker is assigned first place for that stage.
And if they tie that one, then they actually have to duel with the sword.
Oh, we get to that. We get to that.
Okay.
That comes later.
So I'm hoping you clarify what kind of sword fight this is between 2 people.
Like a
broadsword,
2-handed
that doesn't
sword,
elaborate, Dave.
A big 2-handed. You need both hands to grasp it. It's quite large.
William Wallace sized.
Yeah.
It wasn't a claymore. It's like I think technically it's a 1.5-hand sword.
Okay, enough talking about going to the bathroom.
So a little bit longer than like an arming sword, but not like a claymore. Yeah.
Not a claymore, not as long as a claymore. So we ended up having 6 shoot-offs, which is unreasonably large number of shoot-offs. Mm-hmm. Your favorite podcast host shot 4 of them and won 3 of them.
Yeah.
And the one that I lost to one of my teammates, and I'm not unhappy about that.
Nice.
And you did beat Keith too, standing right beside him.
I did beat Keith, and I thought Keith was going to beat me.
you know that your safe word is pineapple?
Yes.
Yeah, we stipulated early in the safety
That's-
Was
brief.
in
That's
the
good.
you had to fill it in next to your COVID waiver. So
Perfect.
day one went really well for our team. Obviously, we won the team aggregate. We had a bunch of good people on our team that we shot with the same team last year. Day two continues on the rest of the matches. There's 7, technically 8 more matches on day two. They're more of a scenario based match.
Movers as well.
Moving
I
targets,
love moving
using
targets.
cover, shooting from chairs, shooting long range 35 meters with a pistol from prone, sitting, kneeling, and standing.
Mhm.
Long range kicked my butt. That was probably my worst stage of the weekend.
That was
Now,
my meltdown stage of the
the
weekend.
first day is all stuff straight out of like the military course of fire handbook. The second day, is that always the same every year, or is this just like a IDPA-ish?
There are some matches that they switch around, but it is pretty well the
all-
same matches
Yes,
every time.
Yeah, 7 of them are pretty much for sure going to happen, and then yeah, sometimes we do
There
the
might
one
be
that we're
some-
used to at our matches, the FBI qual, we
Or
might
the
do
OPP
Yeah, so it's
qual,
all-
or the
it's
SEAL Team 6
all-
challenge.
Yeah.
Like
But it's always the same.
established military or police courses of fire type stuff, even if they're a little bit.
Yeah,
different.
it's some variation of that theme at a set
Yeah.
distance with a set number of targets on a set amount of time, perform
Yeah.
a task.
There's more props involved on the Sunday.
There is
stuff.
more props. We have
Chairs,
posts to shoot
barricades.
around. We have barricades. We have
Yeah.
chairs. There's moving with markers on the ground that you have to move to the markers. There's shooting, moving, and reloading all at the same time. There's just more
technical
stuff going on.
Yeah.
But it works the same way. So the day two contributes to your individual aggregate score, and we have a final match that we do called Last One Standing. It's very politically correct like this, where shooting sports are a very accepting, inclusive community.
Yeah.
I've never seen Last Man Standing go on that long.
Yeah, it took almost an hour, I want to say.
Yeah, I shot 41 rounds.
I think there was
so
there was 32 shooters
There
yesterday?
were 32 or 33 people total.
Yeah, I finished 6th. You were second,
Third.
Okay. So yeah,
Keith,
we were
another
down there pretty
gentleman,
late.
and then me. But I've never seen it go on that long. Usually Last Man Standing is done starting at 5 yards, shoot a mag, 10-round mag in 2 minutes, at a C9 aiming mark. So it's like a 3.5 inch square, 3 inch square, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. 2.5.
It's just a little black square. It's like a 3 inch square. So if at 5 meters, fire 10 rounds in 2 minutes. If all of your shots are in or touching the black, get a new black sticker, fire 10 rounds at 5 meters in 1 minute. And if all of your rounds are in, fire 10 rounds at 5 meters in 30 seconds. And then if all of your rounds are in, move back to the 10 yard
10 meters.
and they
back.
do 1 round in 10 seconds,
seconds, yeah.
times 3, 1 round in 7 seconds, time 3, and then they go down to 1 round in 5 seconds after that. And at the end of that mag, they go down to mano a mano, draw and fire 1 round in 10 seconds. First person to miss loses.
Wow.
And the 2 guys that went mano a mano. So I was in the mano a mano part. There was 3 of us, and I got out after like my second round.
Mhm.
Keith claimed to have run out of ammunition and took a very long break.
You iced the kicker.
I think it might have been, there might have been some icing going on. So he came back, immediately kicked my ass, and then they went like another 10 rounds after that, which was crazy. Super fun match though. Great
You should
people.
have offered to give him some practice ammo.
Here, take my mag.
Yeah, it was a pleasure to see so many good shooters all weekend for sure.
It was super fun. Great group of people. Lots of experienced people. Lots of people that were getting used to it and trying it out. one guy with a lot of money shooting a 45 with a leather holster. It was very classy.
Probably the most based cop in the. What was he
Yeah.
in? I can't remember.
In an agency. We don't
Agency,
need to
yeah.
name names.
Yeah.
I know who he knows who he is, and I know he knows I know who he is, and that's what matters. The other part of this is, I guess, not a problem per se, but shooting some of these events when we're on military ranges or when we're shooting with or against law enforcement is sometimes there's like some OPSEC PERSEC stuff. So not everybody goes by their real name, and not everybody's on social media, and there can be concerns around that sort of thing, but it is a hell of a lot of fun to shoot these matches.
Yeah. So when you see me at these matches, I go by Biggest Dickus.
Huh. That's funny. I would use using that.
News to both.
Right.
News to me about both of yous.
No, lots of fun. So
there's a reason my phone thinks that I'm Andrew and Andrew's phone thinks that I'm him, and vice versa.
Because the phone software is very bad. So
we're slowly becoming one person.
I'm super happy with how this went. I ended up in 4th place overall for the individual aggregate score for the weekend, with 8 highest possibles. And I think I won 6 matches outright.
Something like that.
Maybe it wasn't.
Congratulations.
I'm not sure if it was quite. I feel like it was 6, but maybe that's a lie now that I said that out loud. But I know I had
6 was my amount of high possibles. Maybe that's what you're thinking of.
Whatever, 8 highest possible. So 8 perfect scores, 8 matches that I could not have gotten more points on. And the top 5 shooters were separated by a margin of 6 points from 1st place to 5th place.
After 2 days of shooting?
Like out of 1,755 possible points to accrue over the weekend, top shooter at 1,735 and 5th place at 1,729. Like a 6-point spread between 1st and 5th.
Yeah, it was ridiculously tight.
It was like prom night tight. It was. But a lot of fun.
The beginning of the night, just to specify, right?
Yeah.
Not the end of the night. Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Either or. Depends on how your prom went, I guess.
Yeah.
But no, it went great match, really well run. Obviously, Milcon, if you are in Ontario and ever have the chance to make the pilgrimage, is
it's a shooting mecca.
I mean, it is a great place to go shooting. There's
fun activities.
There's
like
a lot
shooting.
more big boy rules than at a lot of other ranges.
Yeah, but you kind of got to earn your way to.
You gotta prove that you can play by big boy rules before they allow you to. It is a great facility, and Keith and Linda are wonderful people and wonderful instructors. And the competition was very difficult this year. I don't remember last year being this hard.
No, I think the highest score was like a 925, and like our whole team scored higher than that, except for like one shooter. So like everybody just stepped up the game this year. Is crazy, just across, but like not just us though. Everybody involved that we were.
Everybody, the whole field. The top, I think, out of the top
shooters.
5 shooters, 2 of them are on our team.
Yeah,
and I think out of the top 10, I think 4 of them are on our team.
Something like that, yeah. So, I mean, we were lucky. We have a good team, and we've been doing a fair bit of training and practicing and all of that stuff. But we have. And then we're going to practice more next year.
I think we're going to need to. We're going to need to.
Yep.
That's good.
But I also got bullied into buying I'm going to say better pistol. So, Sig, if you're looking to sponsor shooters, if you want a slightly overweight dad with a big beard.
There's 2 shooters on this team.
Sig rep, hook me up.
I'll accept. I may not be on the team, but I'll vouch for it. Yeah, sure.
We gotta get you a pistol, and then we gotta get you shooting service pistol, or in this case, operational pistol.
Whatever is available around, the gayness of Ottawa, where it's all douchebag people and they barely do anything.
Well, I mean, on the upside, the Ottawa does have the National Capital Region Rifle Association, which is also at the same place the Dominion Canada Rifle Association is. So conceivably, those people run the matches or could
Yeah,
run
you
the
should-
matches.
Yeah, you should be
If
looking
If you
into
shoot there, you could get some home team advantage, right? Like,
Absolutely.
I've actually spent 2 summers there in cadets on that base.
Well, there you go. So then it'll be like going back home.
Yeah.
There's a lot of good
The
shooting. that goes
difference
on
is you're old enough to go in the mess now.
there.
Yeah.
The one with
Yeah.
the alcohol.
I don't know, man. Like,
The big
actually,
boy
funny
one.
enough, speaking of alcohol and going out and being an adult, I went to, well, this was pre-COVID, so we're talking, what, 2.5 years ago or whatever. The company I work for, I was semi sort of, hey, you need to come doing the whole dog and pony show because of the corporeocracy and we speak French and everything. So I went down to Toronto for a few days and we had
sorry to hear that.
yeah, I know. I had to stay at a hotel and everything. But yeah, we went down there and we had just hired a person from the eastern part of Ontario as a regional manager, I guess you could say, for 4 or 5 provinces. And he was fairly new to the system or whatever. So they asked me to kind of sit down with them and like teach them the system we use that's accessible through our phones, tablets, this, that, and everything. I was like, yeah, no problem. He's like, okay, well, we ate supper and company was paying and company's like, no booze on the card. I was like, okay. But earlier that day, I had went to the LCBO and picked up a big bottle of booze. So he's like, yeah, we'll meet downstairs. I was like, okay. So I show up with like this giant glass of just straight whiskey. And he's like, so we're sitting down. I'm just sipping on this. He's like, are you drinking? I was like, yes. He's like, the bar let you like walk away with a cup that big? I was like, fuck no. He's like, what do you mean? He's like, do you have a bottle in your room? I was like, yes. He's like, why didn't I think of that? I was like, rule number 1, out of town, LCBO before you hit hotel.
No kidding.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Shall we do some other news? I wanna rustle Jimmy's tonight.
Let's give her.
Two-handed Jimmy rustling.
Ooh, vigorous.
Don't rustle me, bro.
Vigorous Jimmy rustling. So the People's Party of Canada stole the election from the Conservatives. O'Toole would be the prime minister right now if Mad Max hadn't stolen the election. Oh, no, wait. The Liberals still won. So how did that? Huh.
Yeah. I don't know. There's lots of issues you could say about many things, about people's verdict are about people voting PPC compared to Conservative. But in the defense, the Conservatives shouldn't have fucking shit the bed so bad. Flip-flopping on this gun thing. I don't know whether they would overturn the gun, the OIC and the laws and everything. And I think they could have gotten more swings their way. Maybe not enough to vote them out, right? But if there wasn't such a giant flip-flop, I think,
I don't know. I know for us as gun owners, and we talk a lot, obviously we talk about guns a lot on the program. I mean, we just spent 20 minutes stroking my autism about shooting service pistol.
Yeah, it's autism.
I am not convinced that this election was about firearms for the vast majority of voters. I think a lot of people that voted PPC were likely voting more to do with vaccine mandates than they were to do with the firearms
Yes.
issue.
I think the people that were voting that way, they weren't voting that way because of guns per se. But I definitely think that there were some people that were on the fence and did get pushed to PPC by the flip-flop.
And you know what? I'd rather that I saw them get pushed to PPC because of O'Toole's incompetence in pandering. I'd rather see people, gun owners, firearms owners, I'd rather see those people voting PPC than not voting at all. Like just completely politically checking out. Because how many gun owners have you guys talked to lately that are just like, yeah, I don't care about politics anymore?
Sadly, a few.
Right? Like that's like, if you're just going to check out, like, well, you may as well sell your guns and take up a sport that's more your speed.
And I've had this conversation, many times with many people, and probably mentioned it almost as many times here. Like, I get it, man. Like, I am so fed up with this system, and I think that, like, it doesn't really matter who you're voting for, because it's literally just trying to pick the turd up by the clean end, like we've said. But for now, I still need to live in the system. Unless I can find that cabin in the woods away from everybody and have enough to sustain myself, which I don't, I am forced to live in the system and play within the system. So I may as well, at the very least, try and make it somewhat marginally better by voting. Again, for what little effort it takes to go and do it, just fucking do it. Don't be
That's
lazy.
an hour
Don't.
of your evening once every 4 years.
Yeah.
Or 18 months.
Or well,
Touché.
they did not get their mandate, or well, they didn't get the mandate they wanted. They didn't get the majority government that Trudeau thought that he was due. So the promise was, now, I mean, he's broken many promises over several elections, but the promise was that if they didn't secure a majority government, we're going back to the polls in 18 months.
Yes.
Which ought to be interesting. The Conservative Party is also calling for a leadership review for O'Toole, which I think is well deserved, because I don't
son of
think
a
that.
bitch. Beg for your job. Beg for your fucking job, man. You're an idiot.
No, just vote him out. Let Paul Revere run for the Conservative leadership, because he's. I know that
him
he's
or
not
Leslie
old.
Lewis. Anybody's better than O'Toole at this point.
I mean, yes, and
How,
it would be.
how does
It
anybody
would
take
be
what he
funny
says
to see
seriously
the.
anymore, right?
It would be funny to see the spicy black woman run the Conservative Party, because the memes would be pretty good.
She's pretty well spoken.
Fuck. Yeah, no. If it ever came back down to another vote, nah, that's who's getting my vote.
Yep.
I mean, we'll see. I mean, okay, let's elect her and see if she shits the bed just as much as everybody else that has been there. But from her stance on everything,
her in a general election versus Trudeau would be like the social virtue signaling stuff would be super funny.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It'd be immense. It'd be astronomical.
Memes of the highest caliber.
Right. So him being such a feminist and supporter of everything, he should just last second just back out and be like, no, you know what? She deserves it.
You deserve it. Yeah.
But that's what he would do if he actually was feminist. But the minute that a woman spoke out against him, he immediately
fires him right in the titty.
And not just a woman, but a native woman too.
Which one? I just want to clarify which scenario we're talking about.
Shorts.
Yeah. Not the ones he snubbed recently by going surfing.
Yeah, he literally took his board shorts and.
Judy Wilson-Raybould is the particular person in question. She was, I think, the Justice Minister at the time.
And told him you can't do this S&C thing.
That's
because it's illegal. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Get out of my cabinet! How dare you? How dare you, miss? How dare you?
Yeah.
Well, I really do hope they do a leadership review for O'Toole, because the Conservative Party in the last year is not very conservative.
You know,
I know I have not had good things to say about O'Toole. What would be amazing, Gavin?
If Bernier still had a membership in the Conservative Party and out of nowhere ran for the leadership again, just like and won.
I'm surprised, cockbags. I'm back.
What though? I
just think that'd be hilarious.
It would be. Leslyn Lewis as leader would also, I think, not be a terrible thing. She is well spoken, and she is a visible minority woman of color. Like you tick all of the.
A lot of the.
You tick a lot of social justice boxes with that.
Yeah.
Which I know is not like. It's not my preferred way to elect a candidate, but like.
But she, despite all of that, she actually talks like her platform.
No, she speaks well, and she's informed and educated, and she seems like she's not a terrible politician as politicians go.
Yeah.
I think it would be really funny to see them run a black woman in this country.
I agree, because she ticks all the other boxes for me that would make as good a leader as any other for a politician. Right? Like I can't be looking at her platform or anything and go, fuck no, right? It's like, I would be okay with this if this. And then the fact that it ticks those extra boxes for those, extra credit marks where it's because them pandering against it, how do you do that? Like all the things that they like to say, well, Tool's just another old
Stupid
white guy.
old white man. Yeah.
So
That,
she
like,
could
you
be.
can't do that, right?
She would be Canada's version of the whole thing, and when Obama was
Yeah.
elected.
I mean, the only thing is that I think that like in our next election, if she's going up against the Liberals, is that like the shiniest of ponies, I don't think will be at the head of the party.
You don't think so? You think he's not going to?
No,
If he calls an election, he's not the one that's going to run, or what's going to happen? Are they as a caucus?
I
gonna
don't
kick him
think.
out? Is he gonna
I
step
don't think
down?
that the Liberals will call a leadership
No.
review.
I don't think so either.
Yeah,
I
he
don't
just
know.
won
I
against
think
whoever he won.
I think it'll still be him until they lose an election, and then they'll throw his ass out as fast as they can.
Well, if they
But
lose,
I
until-
don't even think they'll have to throw him out. I think as soon as he loses an election, he retires from politics the same way his dad did. The second time, not the first time. Actually, I take that back. It might be the same thing as his dad the first time. We'll see him again in 10 years.
no, it could be.
I don't know.
Yeah, no,
And
I
by
don't
his dad,
think
I mean
he'll-
Pierre, not Castro, just so we're
Yeah.
all clear.
yeah, Castro is a much better politician. He managed to stay in power for much longer.
This,
Yeah, but the whole
without
like,
having to take a 10-year break.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, but yeah, no, until the Liberals.
When do you think they're going to get this review done for the Conservative
I,
Party?
I don't know if they've actually called a review. This was like right after the election. This
Yeah.
came out. It was in
You're saying they
CTV News
should
on-
I don't know, man. I have a
the
feeling
22nd of
I have a
September.
feeling the Liberals will do kind of like the Conservatives did, where they put Kim Campbell in, except it's going to be Freeland or Chagger, and then they'll let her run it for a little bit.
right into the ground.
I mean, yes, but they'll let her, whichever way they go, be the prime minister to say that they did this because they've somehow forgotten that it was the Conservatives that actually had the first female prime minister, which is what leads me to think they'll go with Chagger because it'll be the first female minority prime minister.
No.
And then
They
like they'll
make this
do that for a little bit,
Are you saying
and then
before the 18 months
Yeah.
or after the 18 months?
before they call an election, and then once
You
that
think
person
Justin
has
steps
been,
down and then they take over for
think
like
so.
6 months or something like that?
Yeah. and then
I
they'll
can
call
see
an
that
election.
I can see that bullshit happening.
That's my prediction as of right now.
a strong
How do they get
possibility.
Justin out of there? Do they release something more damning to actually make him step down?
All the party has to do is decide that he's no longer the leader of the party. That's it.
But I thought he was calling the shots there. Well, I guess Gerald Butts is.
Tough to say.
Yeah.
It will be interesting to see
Like,
what
is
the
the-
Conservatives do if there is a leadership review coming up,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
if they do decide to remove O'Toole. So if you're listening, remember, Conservative Party membership is not expensive, but you have to have it now in order to vote in the leadership election when it comes.
Yeah.
And technically, if you read all the party charters, most parties say you're only allowed to be a member of one party. So make sure to think about joining the Conservative Party and pay the $25 or whatever it is. You get a say in who the leader is if you're into that sort of thing.
Isn't it
I
free to
will-
be part of the Liberal Party?
And the NDP, I think, gives you a refund. But in any event, it's all tax deductible. Talk to your accountant, write it all off. And I think it costs you $25.
Yeah. I will say this though. None of the parties that I have been associated with over the years have ever checked my status with other parties.
I know. I'm just
Do
saying, read
with
the
that
terms and conditions and
information as you will.
don't
Yeah.
violate things that you shouldn't violate.
So who
Just-
are we
So,
voting for?
fi-
For the
15
Liberal, for the Liberal.
$15 for one year.
Whenever they call an election for the leadership for the Liberal Party, I will probably become a Liberal Party member, and I will figure out who to tell you I think to vote for. And I will probably, unlike what I did with the Green Party when I was a member of the Green Party,
However,
voted
briefly
for-
that may-
I voted for a great woman that I thought would be a perfect person to lead the Green Party because she lived on an island alone in like northern BC and was
it's
pro
all
firearm.
guns, yeah.
So I was super on board with that. So like, unlike that, where I picked somebody who I thought was a great person to be the leader of the party, I will probably do the exact opposite when I suddenly become a
Yeah.
Liberal Party member
Who is
for
going to
3
crash
weeks to
the
vote for
display
their
in the
thing.
fastest, yeah.
Yes. And if I could
Let
find
go of the
someone
yoke.
worse than Jagmeet for the NDP, I'd vote for them too.
Yeah. I will say this though, having been a member of many political parties, the Greens send out the most emails. Good God, it was.
Yes, but it's email. It costs very little to the environment.
Oh, I know, but it was annoying. And out
Well,
of
depends.
principle, I printed it all from them. None of the other parties, just for them. I printed every single one and didn't recycle, and I just threw it right in the garbage.
So, but that all depends. What server farmer or server farm are they using for a bunch of their shit? That is it the greenest way to send an email?
I'm sure that email is greener than regular mail, but you're not wrong. Sending a lot of email is probably taxing on the environment in some way.
It's all coal-fired email servers.
Well, other things that are taxing. So I do want to go back to about 2 weeks ago, following the election, when the news was imploding that the right-wing populist People's Party of Canada was suddenly taking off and costing elections, and we were going to literally see them installing the next Hitler in the seat of power in this country, because the media apparatchiks were losing their ever-loving minds over this.
So he's not the next Hitler. He doesn't have the gay mustache, and he doesn't have a bunch of people with red stripes on their arms. It's not the next Hitler.
I don't know, man. You read some of this stuff, and you would think that like this guy was like a Mussolini type figure or something.
Yeah, but you're also looking. But a lot of the stuff you read is from
Pravda.
Yeah, I mean it's from so one of the articles we got up here, right? So they ask a person and I wanted to make sure to read this part. The party's platform states immigration is being used to forcibly change the culture, characters, social fabrics in our country. And then
where's the lie?
Yeah. And then this Shafiq, I'll say, says considering recent hate crime towards Muslim people in Canada. I'd like a little more clarification on that because I got no clue what you're talking about. They're worried about the future violence and anti-immigration sentiment grows. In her views, the debate commissions should give the PPC platform. These sentiments are not just sentiments of people sitting at home. They're people who act on them. Like, what fucking hate crimes are these people talking about? Like,
I think they're specifically referring to the anti-Islamic van attack in London.
Yeah, which was how long ago?
I mean, not that long ago, but it was a singular incident. So, like, it's not like it's not rampant. It's not like it's daily, weekly, monthly. And I mean, I'm sure there's stupid little things that happen across the country constantly, but I'm sure that happens to
our soldiers,
literally every race. That there are stupid little things that happen constantly across the country because like people are just shitty. But
like this rising hate crime towards Muslims. Yeah. I'm like, if there was a rising hate crime against Muslims, that shit would be plastered all over the news 24/7. Right? Just like that van attack, which is the last thing I can think of.
Yeah.
That was, publicized or whatever. And Jugmeat, whatever the fuck his name is, right, went on saying, there's giant racism in Canada. Right? Even though considering he's, the leader of people.
I mean, I will say this, though. I do agree with Jagmeet that there is a whole lot of racism in Canada. It's just not directed at the people that he thinks it is.
No, exactly, right?
Well, and I guess maybe this is a naive question to ask, but if it's so terrible and racist here, why do all of these people keep immigrating?
Free stuff.
Yeah.
Well, but
resign.
Free stuff doesn't really I don't know. Does that outweigh all of the racism and hatred and other whatever the other stuff that Shafiq is all upset about? I'm with Pierre.
I wish was given 13 million from the government just because I threw a grenade at some military soldiers. And then
if this country is so fucking
I just wish
racist,
I had a grenade.
So racist. So racist. I can't.
But if we are so fucking goddamn racist, fine, retract your immigration request. You're seeking asylum, whatever other fancy ways of getting into the country through whatever. I'm not.
And I mean, I think there's possibly the argument that again, pick up the turd by the clean end. Maybe Canada is the least worst option.
I agree, but don't come here and then shit everywhere and fucking complain about it.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree with that, but also like the whole immigration thing, like first comer sort of is a thing. Like if you're here first, you get a say over how the place works, right? Like if you start a thing, it's your thing.
Yeah,
right.
There's only one way to be a plank owner, and that's by owning a plank and being first one to be on board, right? Like,
Yeah.
So
Right,
yeah,
but I mean, like,
it sucks.
what
Like,
are the-
yeah, latecomers don't get the same benefits, but also nobody stopped your family from immigrating here in the same way as anybody else's did. Like, we've only been a country for 160 years.
Yeah.
So, like, you could have come here sooner.
It's just funny how, unless your parents only, did the dirty a few years ago and you're newborn.
No, but I mean, like, I don't know about you guys, but I think I'm fourth or fifth generation Canadian.
Oh,
Like-
something crazy. Yeah.
On my mom's side, it goes back 200 years.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, so like we there are people here that are new Canadians, and there are people here that have had families that have been in Canada for generations. But like, if you don't like it, then enjoy getting stoned in whatever country you came from. And I don't mean that in terms of the marijuana.
No, but in their defense, right? It could have only been 20 years ago where their country was getting really shitty to the point where, hey, we should find somewhere else compared to, 200 years ago.
I've said this all along, and I don't care where the person is from. If you come here,
Yeah.
And I say this as someone whose father had to escape communism while being shot at, and was a predominantly Muslim country, had to come and leave the country because it was so bad. He did not come here and then start living the same life that he was living there. He lived a better life. He wanted better for himself and for his future family, and worked hard. And like, while there are certain things that he still does that most Canadians would find weird and are not Canadian, he, for the majority of it, everything assimilated to Canada and adopted Canadian and Western ideas and values and ways of life because he wanted better for himself. He didn't lose his, cultural identity and national identity and all. He still has all of that stuff and quite strongly, but still managed to adopt things in a way that maintained that while also, embracing his new cultural identity and everything else. So like, you can do this. Lots of people have done this over the years, except lately it seems that nobody wants to do that, and they leave whatever third world country they come from and come here and live the same life and have the same problems and don't do anything to better themselves.
And I wonder if that's not the issue, is that it's not systemic racism of our colonial past is so much as a lack of assimilation for certain minority groups that have decided to emigrate here.
And like, go somewhere else.
Well, and that's what I'm saying. Like, and maybe Canada is the least worst option, because I mean, I've looked at emigrating, and there's, for all of the hassle and trade-offs, there's nowhere else that's worth going to.
No.
I have not found a better. There's a couple of places that I find appealing, but there's not anywhere that I found that's like better.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it'd be different if when the commissars are shooting at me, maybe I'll change my tune. But like, for the time being, it's not worth it.
Yeah. I mean, to steal a line from the arrogant worms, we won't say that we're better. It's just that we're less worse.
We're the
Severely
good or worse.
underrated band.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're the good
Have
or
to
worse.
find the link to. I'm sure somebody has a YouTube video of that to share with Pierre. The other thing I want to touch on with the voting and the vote splitting piece. Total votes. The PPC gets just under 1 million votes, 800,000 or so votes.
Yeah.
800,000 and change votes. The NDP gets 1.2 million votes or so. The NDP gets 25 seats in Parliament. The People's Party gets 0 seats in Parliament. It is strange how first past the post is still a thing.
I could have sworn that at some
Someone
point
promised us
someone
something.
promised, like
Yeah.
two elections ago.
No. Wasn't it the last? Was it that long ago that it was?
Yes, it was that. It was the first Trudeau, the first Justin Trudeau election, not the first Trudeau election, because that was at 64 or something.
So we're still picking up the turd by the dirty end.
Another broken promise.
But none of this stuff makes sense. So, like, look at some of these examples. So, the People's Party, they get 5% of the total vote. They get 800,000 or so votes. They get no seats. The Greens get 2% of the vote. They get 2 seats. The NDP gets 18% of the vote. They get 25 seats. The Bloc gets 8% of the vote. They pick up 33.
Yeah, the Bloc, the one is, I think, actually above all of those, the one that blows my mind the most.
Well,
Like,
so that's
a
because
separatist party in one province gets 33 fucking seats. Like, that's insane.
yeah, but right, like all these percentage we're talking about is across Canada, right? So every riding where a PPC, Green Party or whatever is eligible for voting, right? Bloc Québécois is only in Quebec, so all those
I don't know.
ridings.
I would be willing to start a Bloc presence in other provinces because
that would be
I'd be okay with ending transfer payments and kicking them the fuck out.
I actually made a shirt.
Win in Alberta.
Yeah, I actually made a shirt that I'm wearing tonight. We'll call it the Redneck Jesus Party.
I support this.
RD or RJP. Ah, fuck, too bad that doesn't work as RPG. That'd be awesome.
So close.
Redneck Party God? Yeah,
Jesus.
No, we'll go with that. Yeah. We'll figure it out. We'll make that work. We'll put it RPG.
We'll make it work. Yeah.
Yeah, we'll make it work. But right, like, so because right, they're taking this into consideration for so many people. So I work a lot of my work and deal with a lot of Quebec people. But
I'm sorry
30
for that.
different about 30 different locations.
Trips to Toronto, dealing with people from you're not selling this job.
Hence why I drink. But right,
Fair.
like no, so the Quebec, right? Like a lot of people vote Bloc Quebec in Quebec, right? And that's because they really, the Bloc Québécois party really stands for unison and not so much separating from Canada, but separating the province as being like, hey, we're our own people here. We have our own values. Yes, we still want to be part of Canada, but when you come here, abide by our rules, right? The rest of Canada doesn't apply or whatever, which honestly makes no sense, but that's beside the point. So there are so many people in that province that strongly believe that. And it's very in their blood. It's in their everyday thing. Whether you agree with it or not, it's almost like if your parents or 90% of the population living out there is like, no, you vote Bloc, right? Because it's Bloc, right? We're Quebec. We stand behind Quebec before we stand behind Canada. And then there's other parties, certain places where Liberals, NDP, certain parties may be more voted, but very much of that province is just a systemic, this is how we vote here, whether you agree with it or not, right? This is how we vote. It's just inbred.
I'm disappointed by the way that the numbers break down, though. For the Bloc to have 8% of the popular vote and 33 seats versus, say, the NDP, who had more 18%. Than double that amount of the popular vote at 18%, and they've got 25 seats.
But that's what I was getting at. So the populist vote, now, are they only taken into consideration populist vote of where that party actually has a writing, or the populist
just total eligible votes cast?
So that's why what I was getting at, right? It's very, if you're Quebec, you vote Bloc Quebec.
And I get that if you're Quebec, you vote block, but if
Right,
you
so
like not
that
having
province.
if you
So
like not
brain
having
dead
problems
voting
with,
while we have what we have in this stupid country.
but this is this is part of my problem. Is like the People's Party ran a candidate in every riding, got 5% of the total vote, popular vote, and ended up with no seats. The Green Party, which I don't think ran in every riding, got 2% of the vote and scored 2 seats. Like they get more say. How does that? But this is not the point. Is not. I think the point is not, and I think we generally agree that first past the post is broken.
Yes, I don't think it was ever a good idea, but it is
Our whole
now
goddamn fucking voting system is
more
broken.
apparent. Yeah, well, it's now more apparent than ever that first past the post is probably the worst system of voting since voting was invented.
I don't know, that whole time that they were like, there's only one option. That also seemed like a bad way to do it.
Yeah, but at least then you didn't actually have an option, right? So it didn't matter.
Well, you could always not vote, which I also still think should be a. If it were up to me, Andrew's electoral system in Dreamland, I really do think that if the didn't cast a vote party was a party that ran, like if they just if they were obligated to like leave a seat empty.
Well, like if it was like if you're a part of a club and you need to have like a quorum in order to actually have something pass, I think there needs to be a certain amount of the population that actually needs to go out and actually vote in order for anything to pass.
Oh, no, I see where you're going with this, and I'm going to immediately disagree. I want less people to be able to vote. We let way too many people have a say.
So I'm not against that. It's eligible voters, I'll say. A certain number of eligible voters, and
we get to decide who's eligible
voter or not is up for debate.
It's another topic.
But a certain percentage of eligible voters need to go out and actually actively participate, which could include I abstain from voting or I vote none of these should be an option. And then if more people vote none of these, they have to reset and do it all over again until somebody can come out as a clear winner.
Boy, it'll be like Israel. We'll be on our 5th election in 6 years.
I'm fine with that though, because like if nothing happens, nothing bad happens.
Well, I really do think like because if the didn't cast a vote party was a party, they would have a plurality of seats.
Yeah, like if the Rhino Party actually could win a seat, and then just instead of like immediately leaving, they just stayed and did nothing. That would be far more effective and actually make them a viable option.
How awesome would that have been?
At least governs best.
Trudeau didn't win, and the Rhino Party won where he was.
I would be all for it.
I'd walk around with like a 3-day chub.
Every 3 days.
If chub lasts more than 3 days, see physician.
Not at that point. Not if that's the reason for it.
Or just look at a photo of Trudeau's mom.
Yeah.
Which one?
A hurtful thing to say.
I mean, if you wanted to really go away, look at the one of her at like Club 54.
The soft
54 or a Saint-Con cat?
Did you say a soft pass?
Yeah.
It'll be soft after you look at that photo. I'll send it to you, Dave.
Yeah,
is it 54
noise?
Or Saint-Con cat? Oh yeah, the message is coming, Dave. Brace yourself.
Yeah. I don't want to know.
Yeah.
What am I looking at right now?
No, don't worry.
Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't ask questions. Just accept the download.
Well, I really am disappointed. I saw there was some people trying to do some statistical analysis of this, saying that if all the PPC votes went conservative, that we would have a conservative majority government. But thanks to other Andrews,
autism.
Well, yes,
he has autism in different ways.
Yeah, we all do.
Well,
that's what brings
my math and his math line up.
There you go, Dave. It's sent. Enjoy.
No, where'd you send it? Oh no,
There you go. I also sent it to you too, Pierre, just so you guys could both suffer.
Terrible.
In the jungle, the mighty jungle.
Something like that.
Yeah.
The lion.
is lost.
Purse tonight.
Thoroughly lost.
Yeah.
In the jungle.
No,
Yeah.
so if we assume that
Castro.
all the PPC votes had gone conservative, which I think is an unfair assumption, but like if we worked on the premise of all the PPC votes had gone conservative, which I don't think they would have, it still would not have changed the outcome of the election.
It just probably would have been more of a piss off, honestly, because it just would have been closer.
Yeah, I think a few
It would have been closer, but it still would have been a minority liberal government.
The same bullshit.
Yeah.
The same different,
Yeah.
same bullshit, just a slightly different looking pile.
Yeah, I mean, really, there was just a reshuffling of seats because most people were more or less the same as where they were. It's almost identical as the previous, plus or minus a couple of seats for all the parties.
Yep.
I think the biggest one is the difference between the conservatives and the liberals. Everyone else was pretty much plus or minus like one seat. Not that they had that many seats to begin with, but like.
No, it was all plus or minus a handful, with the conservatives and the liberals traded the majority. But so the liberals secured 158 seats in this election, right?
72 to have the majority. 172.
170, I believe, is the majority number. So they've secured their 158 seats. If we look at all the contentious ridings, where if you combine the conservative and PPC votes, you could possibly flip those ridings. And again, assuming that all of those votes would have gone, had PPC not been an option, had gone conservative, which I do not think is a fair assessment, because just as many people failed to vote as actually cast a ballot.
Yeah. Some of these people may have just.
We're talking about a difference of 50 in ridings. So we're talking about, instead of being 158 liberal, we're talking about 144 liberal.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would have been a smaller minority, but it would have still been a minority.
But at the same time, I don't think that any riding that didn't potentially have a PPC would have not went conservative and went NDP or liberal.
Well, and that's kind of my thing, is if you take the PPC votes out of the equation, I don't think it really would have changed the outcome. If you give all the PPC votes conservative, it would have changed a dozen ridings, maybe 15.
No.
But it wouldn't have changed enough to have changed the outcome of the election. And the other problem that we have is, much like we're working under the premise of all of the PPC votes would have gone conservative, we're also working under the premise of, if the liberals had not secured a majority government, that they won't form coalitions with the NDP and Green Party in order to have what is in effect a majority government.
Oh, you mean like what they've been doing in the previous term?
How many days did the NDP fight for? Paid vacation or whatever.
An extra 3 days paid vacation or whatever it was.
And they'll push anything through while licking the butthole.
Well, but that's my problem, is that there's 25 NDP seats. Those 25 NDP seats will basically vote for the vast majority of liberal policies.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because it's at the very least a step closer towards the socialism that they want. So why would they not do that?
And the Bloc will do the same thing, except the socialism will speak French, and they will have a national assembly that has slightly different rules.
Yeah, and there will be like an extra 6 pages when they put legislation through, because French is long.
Because the French side, yes, that's right.
Yeah, it's all that law and law that goes in front of everything that makes it just
the calice, the tabarnak.
There'll be a little bit of religious stuff thrown in there just because.
Yeah, because it wouldn't be Quebec if it wasn't. Right?
Yeah, no, it's just like, it would have been a lot closer, but I don't think they all would have gone there. And part of that is, like, if you look at the anti-vax movement, for lack of a better name, because it's very specific to this particular vaccine and not necessarily vaccines as a whole, there definitely seem to be a lot of what I would generally refer to as left-leaning people that are on board with the not mandating of vaccines. Yeah. And I think some of those people voted PPC because they felt very strong, like much like we are single issue voters for a particular issue. I think to them, they were single issue voters for a slightly different issue and voted that way because they felt very strongly about, vaccine mandates and all of the other COVID nonsense that has been going on. And, they would have gladly voted, NDP or Liberal had they also, held the line on the not infringing on that particular right.
Right,
This is what I was getting at when I was trying to say. Sorry, give me 1 second, and then it's all yours, Pierre. This is what I'm trying to say is like I think it's a faulty assumption that all of those PPC votes would have gone conservative. That's my piece.
Yeah.
Giver.
I agree.
No, but I don't disagree. That's what I was saying, right? PPC is the only party that actually said anything about mandating anything, passport mandatory for work, anything, vaccine wise, right? Like conservatives didn't bargain on it, right? They kind of
straight if his life depended on it.
like,
He just kept
they
flip-flopping.
kind of
Maybe we can find a way to
answering.
make his life depend on it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
well,
I
the
think we
soft
can.
answers need to end. He needs to put his
Right,
goddamn foot
but
down
like
and start.
PPC was the only party that said, "Hey, look, the vaccine passports, vaccine mandates, whether you agree with it being an actual vaccine or not is beside the point." But that was the only party that went along with the no, that's not going to be legislation, law, this, however you want to work it. So yes, I do believe that some of those potential PPC votes could have went NDP, Liberal, Green.
Yeah.
But I don't see a lot of people that would have originally wanted to vote NDP and Liberal just decide to go, fuck it, let's go PPC.
I mean, this politics these days is so weird, man. Like, it used to be that, the different parties weren't all that different from one another. And now it's so all over the place and people are so unpredictable in certain things. And like I said, man, I never thought that I would see a bunch of crazy lefties that are all for taking my tax dollars because it's for the greater good, all of a sudden be like, fuck these vaccine mandates and this and that and everything else. But they're the weird, hippie, crystals will cure the world kind of thing. And that big pharma bad. And I don't disagree with that, but now all of a sudden they're on board with things and getting involved with people, and then you get the libertarian crowd or pseudo libertarian crowd that would have voted for the Libertarian Party, but voted PPC instead because, they thought that Big Daddy Max was going to be the savior.
Mm-hmm.
And there's all kinds of stuff that this was such a weird election, man.
It was.
Yeah, just the timing and everything.
So I haven't followed any of this, and I mean, sort of what we talk about a lot on this podcast. I should have how many seats did liberals win or lose? All parties. What was the whole count at the end of the day? Did the liberals gain any seats?
A couple.
Up to, I believe, is the number, but that was 2 weeks ago, and I've had a fair amount of beer since then.
Yeah, I mean, the majority. So I think NDP was up one, Greens I think were maybe
up one.
Yeah.
And then the Conservatives are down two at least there, and then I think they maybe lost a couple somewhere else. So at absolute most, the Liberals are up 8 seats, but I think it's less than that. So it's almost identical. Almost
not much has changed, right? Because whether Conservative gained more seats or PPC gained more seats, NDP and Liberals and Bloc, could vote enough in their favor, right? Where the Bloc would be hey, send us an extra 1% from, all those shared.
Yeah, it's not like those parties got dwindled away to the point where their vote was insignificant and it's pretty 50-50 between, the Liberals and then the Conservatives. Even if those guys voted, it was No,
There you
they
go.
still would
I've
have.
got your final number.
Okay.
So the seat change total, Liberals up 4. That's
Yeah.
it.
Wow. Yeah.
And
So that costs, taxpayers because
$600 million to run the election is the number that Elections Canada came out with.
You know what?
And all I got
think-
was a stinking golf pencil. Doesn't even say vote Liberal on it.
It's a really nice golf pencil, though.
So
It's not even
what's the
a nice
population
golf-
of
No, I
Canada?
know.
What's the population of Canada?
300 million people? No,
You
that
should have
seems way
said-
too big. No, that's way too big. 30 million? That's not right either.
Ontario is 14 million and change.
Let me Google this shit.
But yeah, no, I agree.
I think it's 30 million.
Okay, so
Somewhere,
let's
I
say
think,
30
right.
million. At 30 million, right? We spent
And half of them are in
600
Ontario.
But we spent 600 million. I would have preferred just,
If they had all just split that money between the number of people in the country and just given it to us.
yeah, even if it's fucking a quarter, I would have preferred that. Right? Because
That would have helped us a lot more than this election. Yeah.
Yeah. Right? So if 600 million is what this
there you
election costs, which I'm still trying to figure out how the fuck
Chris
it costs that much.
Chris coming in on the YouTube, 38 million is the number.
Thank you, Chris.
See what happens when you get t-shirts out to people, they become interns.
That's right. So I think I've got this right. 38 million.
Right?
So 38 million, right? Divided by 600 million. What's that quick math? Fucking 2, buddy. You know what? Everybody in the fucking country tomorrow gets a free coffee from Timmy's. Would have cost less.
Oh, a lot less.
Right?
Like we could have given everyone a Tim Hortons franchise in the country, and it probably would
Is
have
it,
cost
though?
us less.
No,
So-
600 million divided by 38 million. Isn't that only like 15 cents a piece?
No, so 27 million eligible voters.
Okay.
All right, hold on.
Sure,
I
you-
got a calculator. What's our total cost here? 600 million.
Yeah. 600 million divided by 27 million.
I still think you're only getting a quarter, which is almost enough to call somebody that cares.
Divided by 38 million.
No, 27 million.
Oh, whatever. 38, because that's what I've already punched into the calculator.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I'll take it.
I'm
I'd
still
rather-
pretty sure it's a quarter, less than a quarter. I think if it's 38 million, it's 15 cents. But in any
Yeah, 15. It's almost 16. That
Yeah.
still would have benefited me a lot more than the election
That's halfway from a payphone phone call.
if you could find it.
Chris says I'm drunk and my math should be $20 a person.
Oh, is it $15? Did we do that wrong? We
I
didn't
don't-
carry a zero.
I don't know.
Hey, Chris, reach out. I need you to do my books in a few months.
Yeah. Either way.
Chris is a good guy. We shoot with Chris. We
Yeah.
Yeah.
appreciate him. He also understands the horrors of communism and corrected my Russian recently.
Yeah.
I don't know Russian, but I have like a Russian accent.
Oh, no, because pravda means truth in Russian, which
Yeah.
is funny because
It's Russia and it's all lies.
Is
I
it
mean-
the Ministry of Pravda was the thing. Yeah.
yeah, very disappointing. But I am excited to see the media apparatus being concerned about the PPC party.
Oh yeah, the right wing conservatism on the rise.
Like I love how like they
Big
didn't
bad
get
scaries.
they didn't get one seat, right?
Doesn't
Yeah,
matter
but
that they didn't get a seat. It's
they
how
could've.
much they got.
Like
They
these
could've.
headlines make it seem like it's a bunch of extremists that 800,000 extremists.
It is. It
something, you know
is a
what I mean?
bunch of extremists, and they're terrified of it because if they weren't, they wouldn't say things about them being extremists.
Right? Like that's the thing. How many
Do you know how
articles are there
you know
about-
how you recognize a crazy person in public? They're the person wandering around shouting at the sky and like being a crazy person.
of course I
Nobody
know him.
needs to
Waving
point-
purple flags.
Yeah.
Apparently.
Nobody needs to point that guy out. Everybody sees him in front of Timmy's being a crazy person.
Yeah.
Right? The fact that they are so scared. The Albertan, you're doing liberal math. Decimal points don't matter. That's a show title right
It'll
there.
balance it
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
That's
Excellent.
Decimal points don't matter.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like that's
it's just a drop in the bucket. Yeah.
Oh, we don't concern ourselves with those.
Yeah. I mean, crazy people would be on the internet ranting weekly from inside their gun room.
Hey now.
How did you know this was my gun room?
Not high.
Yeah, no, but it's just crazy that yeah.
Oh, I
don't
know.
know.
If we don't tell people that they're right wing extremists, how will we ever know?
Right, and that's the thing. Like it just with how little. Right, fine. How many people voted for PPC all across Canada? Right, 800,000. Right.
Yeah.
If you were worried about extremism or extremism, however you pronounce it, I've had a lot to drink.
I can see
Right.
that.
Oh yeah, you should have seen me before the show. But if extremism, wondering about people being, take up arms and go against anything and everything, like it would already be a fucking issue, right? We have an issue once, twice
not
a
quite.
year.
So, Gavin, what is the magic number for an insurgency? It's how big of a percent of the population?
Roughly 3% of the population needs to actively be involved in fighting against the government actively.
Yes.
So, quick arithmetic, provided I carry the decimal place.
Are we doing liberal math or not?
800,000 over 38 million is 2%. So it's almost there.
Yeah. So you are the 1%. Remember, we can make a difference.
I feel like there's another percent that are secretly also, on in that PPC thing. They just, did some strategic voting and tried to go conservative. But
well, and I don't fault people for strategic voting because the left is very good at it and the right is not, and we don't really have a right in this country, which is a whole other problem unto itself. But like, let's imagine for a moment that we are reasonably right-wing individuals, and if we were, and we wanted to have
a stretch.
If we wanted to have a right-wing government and we could get our collective shit together and vote strategically, we would have more than this 800,000 votes. But I don't think we have a riding that could vote PPC and come out ahead. But this is the same problem the Greens are facing right now.
Yeah. No, but like that's the thing,
I mean,
right?
Eco-fascism, our second favorite fascism.
It's true.
It's a strong thumbs up.
Yeah, but like that's the thing. How many law-abiding gun owners with a license, not those young thugs.
Over 2 million PAL holders in this country, but I don't put a lot of faith into people just having a
they're not all
gun license making them extremely right-wing.
I'd say
it makes them extremely vetted.
I'm not even saying at right-wing, right? So 2 million people in this country out of 38.
But we can't get those 2 million people to get their shit together to vote strategically.
We can't even get those 2 million people to agree that the gun ban is stupid and won't work. Yeah. Some of them are for it.
Yeah, like that's the thing, right? Like there's so many stupid fucks in this 2 million vote that now I understand how the rest of politics.
Well, not even just in that, but just in general. I mean, we've said this before. Like, look at the average intelligence or the Canadians' average intelligence to realize that half the population is. I've had a bit to drink too, but half the population is dumb.
And the other half is liberals. Something like that. I'm still enjoying the show title that I typed out a minute ago. Decimal points don't matter.
That's a good one.
And alcohol blood volume includes a decimal point, so that doesn't matter either.
Yeah.
C.
0.8, 0.08, same difference.
Right. You might be drunk or you might be dead, but either way.
I want to know if it's possible to get to a whole number. I feel like I've come close.
I'm pretty sure you came very close last time.
Incredibly dangerous to get to a blood alcohol content that is a full figure.
You know what? We should just all get together because you can buy those fucking machines at like Shoppers Drug Marts.
I have learned from experience though that if you take a shot in your mouth, so to speak, and then blow the alcohol into the machine, you will break it.
So I'm just curious about where
else. At the bar that we used to work at, and we broke it.
It just worries me that you had to clarify where else you would take a shot.
What? I'm just saying.
so to speak.
Yeah. But yeah, no, we had one of those at the bar I worked at back in the day.
Yeah,
We
Yeah,
would
like-
literally blow like alcohol right into the machine just to see who could register the highest.
yeah.
Yeah, we broke the machine.
Well, we won't
got
break
you.
the machine because we're going to take it for cereal, and we're going to see how high.
Well,
we can
it's
get.
going to be like
We're gonna go
whoever does shots of Everclear and actually like does the shot and then just blows the fumes into it will probably win.
And or start my generator.
Yeah. Yeah. Fired right
Yeah.
off.
Remind everybody this month, the October book for book club. If you're shopping on Amazon and you're using our affiliate link, I thank you for that, because you're literally taking money out of Jeff Bezos' pocket for his penis rocket ship and putting it into my son's mouth for food, or in my case, diapers more often than not. But October's book club, Inside Delta Force, by Command Master Sergeant Haney.
It's a good one.
Command Master Sergeant Haney.
Yeah.
I'll get the words there. I feel like I've had more than a pint to drink too.
As one does.
It's all the celebrating from having one service pistol.
Yeah, no, this Haney fellow and Daryl Watts would definitely be having a very close competition into who has the larger balls, that's for sure.
Out of all sword fights to watch, I would want to watch that one.
Yeah. It would be very close.
Yes.
It's too bad they never got into the same room together for realsies. That would have been probably a pretty good conversation to write.
Those are two guys that I would drink with in a heartbeat.
Yes.
Yeah.
Exactly. Absolutely.
Yeah. I'll buy.
Yeah.
Don't care what tab is.
I won't. I'm sure that I can't afford that.
No, me either. But out of all scenarios,
Well, we'll take
buddy,
turns.
I'll figure it out. I'll put it on credit.
We'll
Let's
take
make
turns.
this happen.
Decimal points don't matter, so whatever.
Decimal points don't matter. The
Yeah.
election was fraudulent and the decimal points don't matter. Book club is the last Monday of the month, so you have a couple of weeks to get your copy of Inside Delta Force. Read it. Play along at home if you're into book club or not. I know not every book club is everybody's thing, and I know not everybody plays along at home, but I enjoy reading books, and I'm glad that we do this to get a little bit more knowledge about subjects that I wouldn't necessarily otherwise read.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, and to appease Chris, so don't say we don't listen to listener feedback, because there's been a lot of lefty books following Inside Delta Force. We have the Handbook for Right-Wing Youth coming up after that. We can learn all about jazz music.
Jazz hands.
Right up there with.
Yeah.
What was the problem with the rules for radicals? It was beans, I believe.
Yes.
So now we got beans and jazz music.
Yes.
Yes.
Very similar.
We're having one.
Same, but different.
Yeah.
October, Inside Delta Force. September. No, wait, wrong way. November. November. A handbook for right-wing youth.
Yeah.
And
we're on Discord if you want to come and hang out with us. I finally caught up on all the Discord messages. I made many laugh reacts and heart reacts and other sorts of reacts. I even answered some questions at length, and I ignored a lot of other things.
Well, as long as you actively ignored them, that's different than passively ignoring them.
I read all of the Discord messages that I'd missed out on in August. It took me a lot of beers.
Yeah, like it can go crazy some days and then like fucking dead. But if you missed it for a week, I can just imagine. All
for a month.
All too fucking. That's the Bloc Quebec coming up. Sorry.
I accept this. We should go around. Let's go clockwise. You guys have moved around on my screen, or I'm far more inebriated than I thought I was.
We like to keep it, on your toes.
Well, I don't remember this being the order, but I'll start with Pierre. Pierre, where can everyone find you on the internet?
Facebook, Instagram, probably a few other things. My wife figured it out. Off the wall customizing or off the wall customizing at gmail.com. You'll probably be talking to my wife, but she's pretty cool shit. Yeah. That's
I
fine.
dig it. Get yourself some shirts. Pierre does our shirts for the show and for Ragnarok, and they've turned out
Yes.
well. And I'm shipping an inordinate amount of shirts lately. I'm beginning to bother the post office people, which is fun for me because I haven't bothered them in a while because I changed how I do my shipping. But shirts, it's still best for me to go into the post office most of the time.
So thank you, because that means he's probably going to have to need another order sooner
Yeah.
rather than
Yeah,
later.
keep buying those shirts. Helps put my kid through college.
Yeah.
Dave, where can everyone find you?
Find me on Instagram at Diesel6223. I hear it's working again.
For
Is it
now.
back up?
Yeah, apparently.
It's my favorite thing about Instagram is watching you shoot.
Yeah, no. Well, I was waiting to make my post. I was gonna make my post for the Service Pistol Championships this evening, so I might.
Oh,
have
could
to
you
wait.
could you get on that so I can just like repost it and not actually have to do any work myself?
I will do it before I go to bed. I will do it before I go to bed.
All right. I will not because I'm going to go do my 15 minutes of reading and then I'm probably going to meditate for a little bit because after that I'll be having granola and yoga and other things. Telling you though.
Other things.
Well, no, the meditating thing on the topic of shooting. Actually, I have to, aside from being bullied by my teammates into buying a more accurate firearm.
Good. Yeah.
a firearm that does not have a trigger like a Glock.
Yes.
I think I have to credit at least some of my improved score this year to the meditation thing.
I was trying to take that page out of your book. You recommended it, and I always tried to clear my head before matches. And when I reminded myself to do it, I usually shot really well in those matches. So I'm going to try and do more of that in the future.
Yeah, we should, maybe we can get sponsored.
Namaste.
Your Calm app. If you want me to say nice things about you, send us an email. Gavin, where can everybody find you, buddy?
I mean, like everyone else, the best place to find me is on the gram, Urbex GTA, now that it's up and running for now, or, like infrequently on the Discord.
If you've listened to the show this long, you deserve a discount code by way of apology. Use the discount code Patriot when you're shopping at Ragnarok Tactical. It's ragnaroktactical.ca. We have first aid supplies, tactical accessories. We've been known to do some training courses. I think we're going to need to do some more of those.
Mm-hmm.
You use the discount code Patriot at checkout. You are literally taking money out of my son's university education.
So make sure that you put it back in there by ordering something off of Amazon and taking it out of Bezos's Dick Rocket fund and putting it into Andrew's Kids Fund.
We do value your opinions. Send us your feedback. Send an email, feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. Let us know what you think or what you hated or why you don't listen to us or why we're wrong about how the PPC stole the election or why Trudeau is actually the greatest leader since Castro. Your choice.
Because he's his offspring. That's why.
It's the joke I was going with, yes. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaca. We couldn't get Rod on the show. Rod does not participate in Operational Pistol. So when Rod is ready to shoot a man's sport,
You're missing out, Rod.
we'll get him on to talk about his thoughts about Service Pistol. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I have to remind you that you are the true North, strong and free.